And the earth was without form and void. Thus says Genesis chapter 1 verse 2. Jesus said to Peter when he attempted to refuse having his feet washed, "What I do, thou knowest not now, but thou shalt know hereafter." That is John chapter 13 verse 7. This was the state of the earth in contrast to the rest of the universe at the beginning of the creation week. The earth was without form and void. What I do, thou knowest not now, but thou shalt know hereafter. The earth was simply, what I do, thou knowest not now, but thou shalt know hereafter. The Bible says, better is the end of a thing than the beginning thereof. And the patient in spirit is better than the proud in spirit. That is Ecclesiastes chapter 7 verse 8. Patience in spirit leads us on to the end of a matter. Thus, it normally is in God's actions, both in creation and in providence. If you have been a Christian for some time, then I guess there must have been a time in your experience when Jesus needed to tell you, "What I do, thou knowest not now, but thou shalt know hereafter." So far as your sphere of action was concerned, the earth was without form and void, but the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters of your seeming destruction, inviting the energies of your soul to spy out the divine counsel hidden in the deep mystery. Thus it was with Job, and thus it is with your brethren that are upon the earth. So the earth was without form and void. What was within the void? That is the question. Psalms chapter 97 verse 2 tells us that though clouds and darkness are round about him, around God himself there are clouds and darkness, just like covered the earth, suggesting that the depth of his counsel is impenetrable. The same depth and counsel that he had concerning this planet. Though clouds and darkness are round about him, we know that righteousness and judgment are the habitation of his throne. The dark depths of counsel with which his actions are often clothed, far from detracting anything from his divinity, honor and explain it. We cannot fully understand him and all his plans and counsel because he is God. Had it been possible to understand him fully, then it could as well be possible to change places with him. But we do know that righteousness and judgment are the foundation of his entire counsel. Again, what was within the void? The perfect and intelligent laws of nature, with their wonderful adaptation to support life, answered this question at the end of the creation week when God beheld everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. However, the history of this world has given the more excellent answer to this question retrospectively. It is not only the perfect creation that explains what was within the void, the potential that this little speck of dust had, but it is really the history of this planet that has more fully answered this question. Upon this planet, the mystery which was kept secret since the world began, you can read that in Romans 16:25, has been and was revealed. Apostle Peter reveals that the angels themselves study the principles revealed in the science of God's dealing with the human free will. The Bible says that God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. Not only did God give him to suffer and die for the human race, but he gave him to be a member of the human family for all eternity. His name is Emmanuel, that is to say, God with us. Both for time and eternity, God with us. As a member of the human race. By Jesus' humanity, the human race has been exalted to the very throne of God, and the Bible calls us sons of God and heirs with Christ, co-heirs with him. So for all eternity, God is going to have earthborn children to be heirs of all that he is and has. Sons normally inherit genetically the nature of their parents, and by right, they inherit what they have. So they inherit what they are and have. So by inheritance, God's earthborn children inherit all that he is and us. That is why we talk of second birth, being born into the royal family. Them that believed in him, to them gave he power to become the sons of God. That is according to the book of John, chapter 1, verse 12. Revelation chapter 21, verse 3 says, "And I heard a great voice out of heaven, saying, Behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and God himself shall be with them and be their God. So God will be here for all eternity. This speck of dust which was once without form and void will be the metropolis of the universe, and that forever. And the good book says that God himself will be their God. That is to say, all that he is and has for them, and that for eternity. His very divinity he holds in trust for them. Take note of that, both for time and for eternity. 2 Peter chapter 1 verse 4 says that we are called to be partakers, that is to say, sharers of the divine nature. The rest cannot be more glorious. God with us. So truly, better is the end of a thing than the beginning thereof, and the patient in spirit is better than the proud in spirit. The study of human and Christian history is worthy of every effort that it invites. It's not a monotonous plateau of divine successes, I would assure you. There are instances of seeming defeats, which with God are successes in another color. You will notice there are instances when God seems to fail. There are many instances in this history in which Jesus is forced to remind us, what I do thou knowest not now, but thou shalt know hereafter. Expect a dramatic ride in the study of this history. The Bible says in Ecclesiastes 3 verse 14, I know that whatsoever God doeth, it shall be forever. Nothing can be put to it, nor anything taken from it. And God doeth it, that men should fear before him. There is always a forever reason in the actions and plans of God. There are mostly temporal, we may say temporary, reasons for the actions and plans of man. This normally leads to a clash between the two spheres of action. Man has to therefore live by faith to ascend beyond the compass of his limited, selfish, and human reason. Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 11 says, He hath made everything beautiful in his time. Also he hath set the world in their heart, so that no man can find out the work that God maketh from the beginning to the end. The reason we do not as fully comprehend the works of God is because the world is set in our hearts. We walk by sight and not by faith. We understand everything in the light, or rather darkness, of our worldly visions and dreams, and would wish to interpret the eternal counsel of God in the light of these plans. Though God makes his work from the beginning to the end, as that text says in Ecclesiastes 3:11, man only sees and seeks to interpret, or rather misinterpret, only part of it. And at this we stumble, being unable to make full sense of it, that is, of the whole plan of God. God has made everything beautiful in his, the Bible says, his time, not our time. Times and seasons, says Christ, are in the Father's power. Something is really sacred about time. Creation itself was based on time. God chose to create within a week instead of an instant. Finally, Acts chapter 15 verse 11 says, Known unto God are all his works from the beginning of the world.